So I've been out and about shooting some low ISO film last year, and I wanted to go ahead and do this big video just seeing how low the ISO I could go. And then I just didn't really work on the video. Just kind of felt that other projects were a bit more interesting. And then winter 2025 happened, and I really just wasn't going out and shooting much. And I realized I could probably just make a video out of that one large video and make a couple, so I could continue doing my one video a week, that challenge that I set myself. And so here I am. This here is what I believe is a black and white duplication film. With this film stock, I went ahead and just set myself a challenge of, could I actually get any images back from it? And the answer is, well, yeah, otherwise this video would just be kind of pointless. It'd just be telling you about my day. So what kind of images did I get back? That is really the question. And the way that I would describe them is kind of strange. Like definitely images, and then at the same time, kind of not usable images, but like there's definitely enough detail there. Let me explain. So I went ahead and got this film from Shanghai. No. So I went ahead and got this film from, actually, where did I get this film from? Jesus. You do these videos for a little wee while, and then honestly, especially with these projects, you just can't remember sometimes. And if you don't have a script, because I can't read off a teleprompter, otherwise I'm just going to be back and forth with my eyes all day. Yeah, oh god. I digress. I think where I got this film was from like in China, from what essentially would be like AliExpress or something like that. And it is called King 12, which is a Kodak duplicating film, I believe. It is ISO 12, so not the lowest ISO out there by any means, but still technically the lowest ISO that I had ever shot. I think 25 before then was the lowest ISO that I'd ever shot. And if I think the log scale works out that this would be one stop less than ISO 25. So a tiny bit more of a challenge. With the ISO 12 film stock, you can kind of shoot it wide open during the day but not like too wide open. If ISO 100 is f16 in the bright sunny day, then a 25 ISO stock would be like f8, 5.6 or something like that. It's 100, 50, 25, 12, that's 4 stops, so 16, 11, 8, 5.6, yeah, something like that. So you could shoot f5.6 during the middle of the day if it's a nice, bright, sunny weather day. And that's what I did. I went ahead and waited, I think, like 8 months for me to go out and actually shoot at a location and spot that I was kind of exploring at the time in my city. And I just waited for a really nice sunny day and just went out and photographed whatever I wanted. I did shoot some more wide open shots and some shots at longer exposures rather than just 5.6 and ISO 12. But one thing to say is this film stock is weird. Like, it's supposed to be ISO 12, and I think I did my like looking up at the time. It was like, yeah, everyone else said it was fine to shoot at ISO 12. They recommended a certain development time, which I believe I took to my lab, and that's what they followed. But what I got back was the thinnest negs that I've ever seen. Like, thin. And the weird thing is that we got images back. Like, they weren't thin to the point that there was no images, like something that was underdeveloped or underexposed. I've had that happen. Now, what we've got here is definitely images. Definitely more than enough of detail to actually get discernible characteristics, information, and everything else that tells you what I was photographing. But what we've got is just the thinnest negs that I've ever seen, and surprisingly usable when scanning. So what I did is go ahead and put them in my Epson, put them in Lightroom, and then just boost the exposure by about 4 to 5 stops. And yeah, I got discernible images and a reasonable amount of detail captured. Like, take for example this very first image that I took. It is of this little meter pump station sitting here in this grass. And there is more than enough information there. It's actually, I kind of like it as a black and white image. I see other people take images like this and I admire them for doing so, but I'm never usually the one who wants to take an image like that. But I actually kind of like this, and there is a fair amount of detail here, and that's one of the things that I wanted to see from a film stock like this is if it's a duplication film stock, one of the things that's really important for duplication film stocks is transferring information and not losing detail. So that means that they have to be detail orientated, and this film stock delivers on that. And then you look at this other image and there's just a lack of detail in the shadows. Like I said, I boosted this by like 5 stops. I think I needed more for the sky than I did for the trees. So the fact that those are basically silhouetted isn't abnormal. Again, you're going to kind of find this with a lot of the shots is that there's just information there that just is missing otherwise. Let me rephrase that. So you're going to find with a lot of these photos that there is information, but there's just not information in the deep dark shadows. And again, that could be because technically this film stock may have been underexposed or not developed for long enough or something else entirely. But when it comes to the highlights and the medium zone of the image, it does have information. But for sure, there is definitely something off with this film stock. I think I took some of these photos wide open and then some of these photos a bit more deep focus. So I can't remember which one's which. So that's not really that helpful. But you can definitely see some differences between the images. Take, for example, this one or its predecessor. So whilst editing this video, I realized I actually hadn't completed the video. I don't know what happened. I just can't find any more footage that kind of sums up how things went. So I'm back on the day recording and just kind of summarizing my thoughts and feelings about this film stock. I'm not going to make this a long video. I'm just going to get basically straight to the point. This is a reasonably quite slow film stock. You can shoot it handheld. So the thing that you're going to struggle with this film stock that I've found is that not the fact that it's like 12 ISO, it's the fact that even though they provide the times right here for the development, we followed that, and my lab, I think they're pretty good. And well, you can see by the film photos where there's just a complete lack of information, and you saw how thin they were. I don't think that they were thin just because somehow this film stock comes out thin. There are some film stocks that do that. However, in this case, I suspect it's just simply because they weren't cooked for long enough. And with this film stock, I actually don't know the history of it. I didn't really look at the base number and what it actually is. But my suspicion would be that it's quite an older film stock and therefore it's just probably more expired, which means that these development times here are probably not that accurate, and it would probably need to be developed for longer, or you would need to compensate with the ISO and shoot it at below 12. If I was just thinking for a second, I would probably say maybe ISO 3, ISO 6 would probably be a better option, probably ISO 3 or even 1.6, but Shooting ISO 1.6, I'm going to leave for next week's video. So speaking of next week's video, and the reason why I'm going to bring it up right now, the whole reason why I got into doing this and shooting this low ISO film stock was simply because I have some projects that I had in mind, and it wasn't just about shooting long exposures during the middle of the day with these kinds of film stocks. I had some really cool projects which I'm trying to build on, and hopefully this video is the beginning of it. And then I have a video coming up next week, which is an ISO 1.6 duplication color film. And then the video after that is a really cool special project that I hope to show you. Hopefully it comes out well. I'm hoping. I've got some film up in a lab up in Auckland and it's being developed. And I'm waiting for it to get back before I can actually know whether what I did was working. But my point is, it's kind of like a long-term project and just kind of figuring out how these film stocks can be useful for certain scenarios. And I'm planning to next year show how you should actually use these film stocks for what their intended purpose is. This is just kind of what I wanted to show. This video unfortunately didn't come out how I intended it to. And a lot of the footage I left on the cutting room floor. I just wanted to basically show you an example of how this film stock looks, how it behaves, and basically how I think you should rate it. So that's where I'm going to leave the video for now. As always, it's been real, guys. Until next time.